And welcome, guys. This is the last workshop of this year. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. I appreciate you just being with you the past few workshops. This is the last of the Craft Clever Content series. And I was originally going to go through how to set up, like how I would set up a particular ebook. To help out one of you guys here. But what I really wanted to end the note with is getting into what I feel like is the kind of the basis, the foundation of what has really helped me stay a bit more consistent and create a foundation, even though I've been so busy with life, as we all are. And I had invited a special guest today because she's really the one who's really helped me kick my butt. She kicked my butt, and she was my accountability partner for a bit, and she has developed her system that was really based around a way to create a strong foundation in any area of your life. In this particular case, because what I teach is mostly content marketing and the tools of, we're going to relate it to the content. Before we get to her, and I guess I'll bring her out really quick after I do a bit of housekeeping, and then we'll let it flow from there. I do have a few slides as well. I'm looking at my notes right now, just to do a bit of housekeeping. This is the last workshop of the year, and it's so great for you guys to show up. And I've already started planning my next year. And I've got kind of eight overarching topics for the whole year, or 8 categories. And the first category of that is the tools of the marketing, and that will really involve a lot of how-tos and the tools that I use, maybe some of the tools that you use and how you can use them. And so there's that. And anytime we have workshops coming next year, or even today, if you ever want to show up early or stay on late for more conversation, then you're more than welcome to. If you need to come in late or leave early, that's fine too. Just make sure that you mute yourself out as you're coming in and out. And then, let's see. So there's another lovely lady on this call, and her name is Erica. And she is, I'll bring her out maybe a bit later, but she and I are working on a particular project. One of the things that she came up to me a few weeks ago, or maybe over a month ago actually, was one of the things that she was saying was, I feel really lonely sometimes. Like, she has had an amazing travel lifestyle that she started up and going this year. And yeah, one of the things that she was saying was, sometimes I feel really lonely. It's amazing that we can go to these places. And I felt exactly the same way in so many ways. And that's a lot of the reason why I've connected with Diane and her group. And you're going to be meeting her later. But also, yeah, I just really wanted to connect more and create a bigger community as well. And so I'm working with her on a project to be able to help other people not feel as lonely. Because this whole journey, especially online, is quite an interesting journey. And incidentally, it's something that I'm doing locally here in this new area that I'm living in, because there are a lot of people who want to get up and running and be mobile entrepreneurs and do their own thing, but they don't know where to start. So we'll hear from her a bit later. But I guess let's just get started. Let me see. Let me know if I'm going to share my screen.
I'm here with Jaina. Hi, Regina.
Hi, Jacinta. How are you? I'm just going to mute you out for a second. Great to have you here. Great to see you. I'm just going to share my screen. And just give me a thumbs up if you can see this. Cool. So this is part 5. This is part 5 of the Craft Clever Content series. And this is one question that I put up every session, and that is, what if digital sustainability is easier than you expected? And one of the things I feel strongly about is the ability to sustain your presence online, even with all of the noise that's all around. and that is, how do I get the right Facebook post up? What's the right content to put up? What should I write? And all of that stuff. And so the past four workshops, I've been going through just touching up on the strategy around the strategy that I developed for content marketing. And it's really a lot of the ideas that I came across were things that I've experienced myself, also things that I've learned from other people, and I've just put them in a way that helps me understand what I do and what I wanted to teach you guys. But also coming next year, I'm going to be going deeper into the model that I've created. And so here I just touched up on it. And yeah. And so the parts 1 to 4 of the replay are in the Facebook group. If you guys are in the Facebook group, you can check out the file section and you'll see, and actually I think there's a section for units, because you can actually create courses in Facebook groups. And you can see the different replays for each of the sections. And each of the sections have obviously the replay video. They also have any of the assignments that come with it, and also the slides that I've used. So you have all of those resources there for you for free so that you can go through. So go ahead and check them out. And that's in the Content Creators Facebook group. And so today, I guess first of all, one of the first things that really helped keep me in line and keep me grounded was understanding my values. And I know a lot of training and a lot of articles or a lot of resources tell you to understand your values and to know your personal values. And that's all well and good, but a lot of times they say that and they don't really explain how to apply it. And what I've learned from Diane, who you're going to meet just in a bit, was, well, what are your values and how can you apply them in a way that really works in any area of your life, not just your personal life, but your business life and your values. And so I had invited her to come on here. And in fact, I wrote a blog post, the 11 steps to make your personal values matter in your digital content and business. And really, she'll be able to break down, at least in the short amount of time we have today, she'll be able to break down some of how she's able to add her and integrate her values into her content and into her business. And so, yeah, actually I'll just bring her on right now and I'll share the rest of my screen later and talk to you about how I've actually applied it into my business. So I just wanted to bring her on. Hi, Di, how are you doing? Oops.
There you go.
There you are.
There you go. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Nice to see everybody today.
Yeah. Now what city's behind you?
This is Perth.
Oh, it is Perth.
Yes, this is Perth. This is our new development. It's called Elizabeth Quay. And Perth is a little tiny city that is really just starting to come of age. So I use this photo that I took to just show that, everything grows. Everything grows, and it's just like a city like we are, and that you never quite know how it's going to pan out. But we are really we're a growing like teenage city.
Cool. That must be really exciting.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I wanted to invite you on because you've really helped me and a lot of other people really get clear on not only what our values are, but how to actually apply them into many areas of our life. And so I just wanted to, if you wanted to tell us a bit about yourself and really talk about how you use your values in your content and even in your business.
Well, I, about 25, 30 years ago, I started to, it even goes further back than that. Like my kids are nearly 40 now. And so I realized that I had to be a really good role model for my kids, and I had to get them learn how to get out of my own way. And so it took me on a journey of personal development, and I did many, many, many courses globally, traveled the world, learning from people that, you know, are heard of and not heard of. And one of the main things that I felt really impacted my life was the work from Buckminster Fuller. And if you haven't done any of his work or read his books, it's very hard to read. He's very hard to listen to. He's dead now. He died in 1982. But his work was, and he still holds the highest number of patents on the globe right at this present time, because he was an inventor. But he invented things to solve problems from the use of universal principles. And he came up with models, and that's how he developed and solved problems. And the way that he did that as a basis was not only how the universe worked, but how he, after standing on a bridge and almost ready to end his life, he knew that he had a lot more to give to the planet, and how was he going to do that? So he started off with what are the things that are important to him. And this was in the 1950s. And so they didn't use the word things like values, which is bantered around a lot. And what do you actually personally need as a human being on this planet? And he had one child, one baby at that point of standing on the bridge. And I think for me, learning his principles and listening to him and trying to decipher him, and I ran and also was included in many, many, many study groups over a long period of time. I've really been able to distill down his basis of how he created solutions to problems on the planet. And that was basically based on having a model, and having that model based on your values and what gets in your way. What are your tolerations? And what do you need personally? So there's a 3-part, because we always have, like, this is a little model. Regina and anybody that's done any work with me, you're going to know this simple little model that's made out of toothpicks and jelly babies is a little model, and it's the basis of the universe. It's called a tetrahedron. And if you were to really live through 4 values, which is the basis, it's using this model, everything has a basis of 4 so that it's a good structure. You are able to then embellish what is naturally creative from your mind, body, and spirit. Was that too much of an explanation? Because I sort of went all over the place there to explain that.
Oh, no, that's perfect. Somebody's calling me. No, that was perfect. I think it was very digestible. And yeah, I remember. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you could repeat it again just so it really sinks in.
So I think the thing that really needs repeating, who is that? I don't know, sorry. But this is a tetrahedron. Mm-hmm. It's made from toothpicks and jelly babies, just as the example. But it's actually the basis of a molecule. It's the basis of anything on the planet. It's the basis of our cells. It's this little, if you were to look up thermodynamics, you would be learning about what and how everything is based on the tetrahedron. And so I used this as a model, and then I built that out to create a model for my content and for my mentoring program, so that people actually have a foundation to work from, which means then if you've got a foundation, everything else takes care of itself, because you are able to be creative. You're not always thinking, well, what's important to me? How can I make that decision? Based on what? Are you just making it based on things that are calculatable? Are you just basing your decisions and your content and what you think you might want to write or tell your clients, things that have been proven or what other people are saying? So the combination of having a scientific model, you are able to clearly look at the facts, and then what comes up for you as you are as an authentic person. Giving you an example, my values are freedom, and how can I allow people to be free with their minds and their bodies and their spirits from the content that I put out? and the videos that I put out and the writings that I do and the blogs that I put out and my mentoring program? How can I do that? It's not about my freedom. It's about how can I allow and facilitate solutions? How can I do it with elegance? Another one of my values. How can I create a bigger family, global family? How can I do that? So I keep asking myself these questions based on my 4 values, based on my model. Does that make more sense, and is it more relevant?
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you.
Cool. And so how do you have any examples of how you actually apply that to your content?
I think on the big picture, I always think, what do I need out of this? Because we are all here for our own self-interest. As much as we all might think that we want to be philanthropic, we want to do all this fantastic work for the planet, basically the person that we need to look after first is us. We have to learn to be selfish, and especially for women, more so than men, because women are so good at being multitasked. And we are so good at juggling a lot of things: family, logistics, our businesses, the thoughts in ourselves, our past patterns, the way we feel. And so it's like, what are the things that I need for what I'm doing? So that comes into what do you love to do? Take care of yourself. And so there's a list in my program of what do you need. Some of the things that I need, and I'm going to expose myself here, is that because of my background and the way that I was brought up, my mum was told when she fell pregnant with me that I was to be aborted, and it's too shameful to have a child out of wedlock. And when I was born, and my uncles looked after me, and I went on their motorbikes, I went in the back of their cars, I went to the drive-ins with them, I went to work with them. These were 4 teenage boys that I grew up with, my mum's brothers. And so I always felt, as I grew up and I put the pieces together, that I was not included. I didn't belong anywhere. So inclusion is one of the things that I always need. And I always look to, how can I have that included in my life to be included? And how can I include other people? It's one of my needs. How can I be in integrity? How can I do what I love to do? Because that helps me to be included. That gives you some examples of what do I need. So that's step 1, take care of yourself. Step 2 is, then what is the problem that you want to solve? You want to solve a problem for yourself. Let's face it, you're solving problems for yourself. Regina is creating a model for content marketing because she wants to learn and be the very best content marketer. So she's doing this for her own self-interest. And in turn, she has no choice but to live through her values if she's getting what she needs. And then, of course, she has to get out of her own way, which is what the things that she tolerates. So again, there is the model. The values is one, the needs is another, tolerations is another, and the change is the other. It's like, what do you want? Where are you going? What is your intention? So they're my steps. Step 1 is, what do I need? Step 2 is, what are the problems that I'm solving? And then step 3 is, how can I keep some consistency in my business so that I'm doing it, so that I'm of always value to the people that I'm serving?
That's great. And I wanted to go through how I took Di's values and turn them into what I do and what I've been doing. Are you guys okay for me to get into that? I'm going to share my screen. Thank you for that.
I hope that it wasn't specific, it was more big picture, but I can go into the specifics as you go into your specifics.
Yeah, that would be great if we can get some input with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just going to start with back to where I was, where I put together this blog post, and some of the, just trying to move the windows here, and some of the things that were in there are, grounding. Who are you? Focus. How can you help others with what you know? Creating a connection. How can you connect to your audience in a way that they understand you? And then, what the results are really what we're looking for with our particular business, whether your results are interaction on your posts, or whether your results are actual money coming into your business. So how can connecting the dots help complete your vision for you and for your audience? And so Di talked a little bit about having a couple of visions. Are you guys there? Okay, I thought I lost you guys. Okay, having a couple of visions for you, one for you and one for your audience as well.
Can I just interrupt there? Because the way that I came up with two visions was, again, it's a tetrahedron. Everything is a paradox. So you have two visions. You have a personal vision and you have a business vision. What are your personal values? What are your business values? Your business values are your personal values. Your business needs, what is your business needs? If you're the owner of that business, they are your personal needs. We are not split here. We don't live in a different world when we're in our business and when we're at home. We're still the same person.
And that's an interesting point that you brought up, because there was another training course that I took this year, and they were asking us, well, what are your personal values and what are your business values? And I was a little confused too, because I understood that you're the same person that's showing up in your personal life as the person that's showing up in your business.
Yes, and for me, I'm just who I am. If people don't like me, I'm sorry. That's who I am.
Mm.
If people don't like what I say, I'm sorry. It's just what comes out of my mouth because it's who I am.
And I guess that comes down to authenticity.
Exactly. What's authenticity built on? Your values. What is important to you? What are your values built on? What you personally need.
Mm. And
I actually had a client say to me, sorry, Regina, I had a client say to me, oh, look, I can't look at this list of needs because I feel needy. Well, she's exactly the person that should be working on her needs.
Mm.
They are emotional. Your needs are emotional. What do you need emotionally without being needy? Once you get those needs met, all your needs disappear. That's the paradox.
Mm. And so going through my values, I picked some of these pictures because I was thinking about everything that I love to do, and that is being with my family, doing fun things, traveling, just moving my body. That was quite important to me. And so though I have a ton of values, the top four that I picked were family, being around family. Grace just has to do with me moving my body, being in flow, and passion is just doing the things that I love doing, and having fun, because I like to have fun. Even if sitting in front of a computer working on my business is what I'm doing, to me that's still having fun. And so I was thinking of everything that I love to do. It helped me understand what my values were, and that helped me understand, okay, well, that's what it actually means to be courageously free, is living by these values. And so ever since I put those together, I really figure a lot of what I do is trying to be aware of what I'm doing at the moment and thinking, does this satisfy one of the values? Is this part of one of the values that I have? So for example, if you're going into family, Di talked about creating a global family, and that's something that I'm quite passionate as well. I have my own family and I love my family. I have my chosen family as well. But also being able to expand that into the global scene, and being able to help other women and mothers who are like me, who perhaps had a career, but want more time and time freedom with their family. Grace, getting into the value for Grace is I love moving my body. I love going upside down. I love doing yoga. I just like moving my body in different ways. It makes me feel good. So what is something that satisfies that? Doing yoga, going running every now and then, playing around with my daughter because she jumps around and jumps a lot. So I jump around and move around with her. Passion, My passions are traveling. My passions are doing things on the computer. My passions are just learning new things and exposing myself to things that I've never been exposed to before. Having fun is, pretty self-explanatory there.
So can I add some distinctions there? Because for me, family, I have family as one of my values. So for me, family is creating a global network of women who also want to share what they are passionate about. And so to give you an example, in March 2019, I'll be taking a small group of chosen women to go and speak in Zimbabwe and Kenya. Very, very exciting project, because what we'll be doing is we'll be helping those women not only see and hear from global women, but also taking and sharing with them specific skills that are actually working for us. And once we've left those skills with them and those distinctions, those women will be a little bit wiser without having to go through the trauma of learning some of the things that we're going to be taking to them. So how can I create a family that is global of women that also want to share what they're passionate about? So that was my distinction on family. And then the thing around grace, I have a similar value, which is elegance. How can I do that in an elegant form? And I do yoga and Qigong. How can I do that every day in my life, especially as a woman? And I started yoga when my kids were, I think my oldest daughter was like 2. So 38 years ago or whatever, I started to do yoga. And that has built to what other things can I do in a very elegant way? How do I put my content together that looks elegant to me? I use photos, I use videos, I use this backdrop, for instance. So what do these words actually mean to you? And I think that's the very key, that when people are bantering around what are your values, live by your values, my question to you is I'll get clear on exactly what that word means to you. And it's going to mean something different for everybody.
And so just to share what I have and what it means to me, family, for example, means human connection in all areas of my life. Passion is just being me, doing what I love. And having fun is living life. And then with grace, it's a moving with regular flow.
Beautiful. And it takes time to get clear on this.
Aging.
And we change. Yes, it takes a long time. People go, oh, yes, I've done the exercise. It was fantastic, and now these are my values. I go, well, now live through them for a year and get clear on them. Clarity is power. Clarity is moving forward.
And the interesting thing with that is that over time, every few months, I'll look at my values and change and determine if my explanation of that particular value still resonates with me at that point in time.
Yes, and don't you think, Regina, that the more you look at those values, the more you are able to get clear on what you personally need, because it brings up your emotions. It brings up stories from your past. It brings up pain from your past.
And I like that you bring up, go ahead.
Yes, and the other thing that then locks into, it shows some of the things that you are putting up with your life. Some of the activities, some of the people, some of the situations, some of the things that you just don't even see anymore because you're tolerating them and they've been there for so long that you've just forgotten them.
Yeah.
And so it all ties together. We're not just talking about values here. We're talking about a big picture that then flows into what you put out.
And so getting into, you talked about, what I need, some of the needs that I had determined were, being touched, whether that's on my skin or in my soul, connection embraces me. Another one of my needs is abundance. And that doesn't necessarily mean, wealth and money. It's just really being able to thrive and give and love and receive. And that can be just me sitting on the grass in nature and hanging out with my daughter. To me, that would be abundant. Independence is, valuing collaboration, but embracing uniqueness and my higher self. And then being liberated is valuing and trusting me and my higher self. And that's what helps me feel free and liberated.
And isn't it interesting, Regina, that when you know what other people's values are and you know what they need, when something comes up, you ask me a question, do you want, or can I use that video that I did long time ago? It was me. There's a picture of me with my feet up on a couch and there's like the circle that goes around. I forget even the content. Maybe it shows like part of my mentoring program. It's a 6 or 7 minute video. And I didn't even ask you what you were going to use it for. I totally have trust in you because I know what your values are.
Mm.
I know that you are going to use them for what you personally need them for.
Mm.
And so we didn't even have to have a conversation about that. But that's taken us probably 2 years.
At least.
To get to that, because we don't just trust people like that. We are not in integrity with other people just like that.
Well, and it's interesting that you bring that up as well, because when we originally met, it was in Bali, and the type of content that we were learning was quite different, and we knew each other in a different setting. So when we came together and to become accountability partners, our relationship was way different at that point in time than to what it has developed into now.
Well, I think it was different because our conversations weren't based on really who we are.
Mm.
So I switched, and I can remember that we spoke about this a lot. We switched our conversations to, well, really, what is important to you? And when one of us was in pain, we were able to share that. It's just what we need. We all have the same feelings.
Mm.
We all have the same needs. Some of us just have a larger amount of wanting to be included, or wanting to be in authority, or wanting to tell stories more than somebody else. It's just a graduation of what each of us need, but we all need the same. But we never talk about that. We never share what some of those things. And that's what people want to read, and that's what people want to see when they are listening to you on a video. They want to see you. And you're seen by how you express what you need.
They want to hear you, they want to see you, and they want to kind of feel what you have to offer.
Yes, because they want to understand themselves.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter if the content is something as dry as tax, or as deep and spiritual as some modular around a modality around personal development.
Mm.
They still want to see and feel and understand themselves. That's where we are at in this evolution of human nature right now. People want to feel you.
And so I think one of the things that people get confused about, because they always want to see what's visible because it's proof to them that it actually exists, where everything does start with your values, but there's a way to take these invisible things that you can't see physically and bring it into your content and into your business. And I wanted to share just an example of how I've been able to do that, and that's starting with my values. So I've got my values here. And so with what I'm doing with my values and doing what I love, I already know how I'm doing it. I also know what I'm doing. And I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so with all of that information, I might be thinking, well, okay, well, what's next? Like, I know how I'm doing what I'm doing. And in this case, for me, it's living courageously free is being able to travel anytime, being able to connect with my family in person if I'm able to. And I know what I'm doing to get there, and I know why I'm doing it. And so if I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I do next? The next thing that I've done is trying to think of certain topics that around what I'm doing that I can brainstorm. So for example, if it's with traveling the world as a mother and a child, I don't know too much of that yet because I haven't traveled in an airplane with my daughter, but before, when I was traveling with my husband, I was going to specific areas, so I could talk about specific areas, types of food. I could talk about different aspects of a culture of a particular country. And there are so many things that I'm able to list from what I've actually been doing, from what I love. And a lot, when I do my brainstorm, I want to see if I can have I have an example, I literally just write everything down, and I don't stop myself. I just write everything I know about it, because at least it's out of my head. Take everything out of my head of what I'm doing, and I end up organizing it in a way that makes sense. So the more I think about it and the more I actually make these topics concrete, and that's the thing, is when I'm taking it out of my head and I'm writing down these topics, I'm making them very, very concrete because they're actually on paper. And then I take that, my crazy brainstorm, and I categorize them into 5 to 7 categories. And when you have these categories, it allows you to realize, okay, there is actual organization here, and I might be able to put it in a way that people understand me. Now, the interesting thing is that sometimes you don't know exactly what you're going to be writing about, talking about, or illustrating in your content, and you don't know how to organize it. So one of the projects that I started out doing last year was I ended up doing daily tips for 60 days. No organization. My intention really was just to do a live video every single day for 60 days with some sort of tip related to what I wanted to do. And what I ended up doing with that is Di and I had a conversation, and one of the things that she says is you can't see what's outside of you. So I had a hard time breaking down these categories. So we sat down, we went through all the videos and the topics of the videos that I went through, and she was writing down what she was hearing from the topics that I was talking about. And we ended up categorizing them into actually about, I think, 6 categories that she was saying, this is what I see from the content that you've been producing. So it's almost like you need to start producing content to be able to figure out the right content and what you know that you can provide as value. And so, for example, these are the categories that I'm going to be going over next year. And so out of those, the 60 day videos, the topics that came, or the categories that came out of that, were tools for the marketing, content of the marketing, personal marketing, copywriting, planning and systems, delivery and distribution, and measuring and adjusting is one that I've added there. But if you've been following me for the past 4 workshops, you'll know that some of this is actually in the content of the workshops that I've been doing. And so now coming next year, I'm going to be drilling deeper into these specific categories at specific times to help you guys get your content out and about.
And so, Regina, how can you relate what you just said about the categories and the brainstorm to your values?
Okay. So I'm going to go back to my values.
Mm-hmm. I think that's sometimes the missing point, is people go, oh, okay, well then I've done my values. Well, then I've still got to figure out what I'm going to talk about. So, okay, you've done your values, and then you've done your brainstorm.
Mm-hmm. And so I just wrote a bunch of the categories that I was talking about. And so, I mean, a lot of this really has to do with what I love doing when it, like, for example, for content of the marketing and copywriting, well, I love writing, and content of marketing is fairly easy for me to do, or something that I love doing. Personal marketing gets into being able to create that personal connection with your audience in a digital format. And for me, that helps me create the global family that I'm creating right now, because it's me taking the information that I know and talking to people, either one-on-one or through video or through emails, and really being able to say it in a way that's personable, and doing simple things such as, looking to the eye of the camera, because it's what you're going to see. Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do, and I'm mindful of that. Planning and systems, that really has to do with planning and systems, and delivery and distribution, that really has to do with grace, because that's how you're going to move through and deliver the content that I have to provide at certain periods of time. And I mean, a lot of it comes down to having fun, and I just love content marketing. I love putting out podcasts and writing and doing all of that to help others. Does that help?
Well, it helped for me to see the connection, because you can now deliver it in a graceful way while having fun. And why you're doing it is because you want to develop a global family, and that's your distinction on a global family. And you're doing what you're passionate about. Doing what you're passionate for you is to teach people about content marketing in a graceful way and while having fun. So I hope that put the pieces together there, because, you know, I hear people say, oh, well, I have difficulty in planning. Planning is just brainstorming with the foundation of how can you do what you want to do by living through your values.
And I think another example too is even just something as simple as my logo. Over the years, I've gone through 3 different iterations of my logo. And when I wrote out my design brief for the graphic designer, I put out my values and what they meant. And she gave me different variations of the logo, and I picked one that fit closely to my values.
Beautiful. That's exactly what I did.
Or even
I did a description of what my work is based on, and then I sent her my values.
And then added, and for mine as well, I added in the feelings that I wanted to convey, or what the feelings that I wanted the person looking at it feel like. And I love colors, so I wanted colors. Another example is some of you know that my social media name for my daughter is #OurLittleDonut. So everyone asks me, you know, how's Donut doing, and what is she doing, and how is she growing? She must be really big right now. So I use Donut in a lot of you'll see it more and more coming next year in a lot of my actual marketing. And that satisfies 2 things. Not only is that it reminds me of my daughter, but also it has something to do with having fun, just because it's kind of silly. Unicorns and donuts might not appeal to everyone, but I mean, I think they're kind of cool, and maybe the people following me might like it too, or not mind it as much. So I actually incorporate that. In fact, the model that I've developed that you're going to be seeing even more next year is actually based on the donut. So it'll be quite interesting to see. And so once I've created the categories and the topics, kind of organize the topics under each category, one of the things that we're going to be learning next year is trying to find out what your persona, and if you've been on these webinars, you know what the persona is, and it's just that exact person that I'm targeting. And what is my persona looking for specifically? And to be able to help to figure out what they're looking for, I do keyword research to be able to find out the exact phrases that they're typing into search engines. And when I find that exact phrase or those exact phrases that they're looking for, it'll allow me to optimize my blogs, optimize my videos, so that if someone else goes in and searches for those particular keywords again, it'll be easier for them to find it, depending on different analytics and measurements. And so getting those keywords kind of helps me with my topics and really find out what my persona is looking for. And so how do I get what I know in front of my persona? I know my topics, I know what they're looking for, but I also have to know who they are and how I present the information, and where do I present the information, in what way, and even how often. And so this isn't anything new if you guys have been following me, but this is kind of a breakdown of how I've gotten to where how I've been able to get to where I am right now from my values. And so that's once you find out your persona, you're trying to figure out where you are and present the information. It might be in an audio, it might be in images, it might be blogging, it might be a podcast, it might be specific social media accounts. And then that gets into, well, if my persona is on a specific platform, like YouTube, for example, well, how do I actually write my content, and how do I post that up? And so that gets really into the concrete of the how-tos. And and that's what people want to start seeing from you. And that's, if you've seen the past few workshops, I talk about the iceberg, and what they actually see is just the very, very tippy top of the iceberg, but with all this planning underneath. And that really just starts with my values.
Does start with your values, and it takes time to develop those, as we said before. And I think for me, in some of my presentations, I carry around this little jewel, and I relate to my values as really it's my jewel and how can I show that when I'm either talking on a stage, or when I'm writing a blog, or when I'm on a video. How can people see really what's inside of me? How can you show what's inside of you? And the way that you show these jewels is by using language, and the language are your values. Use those words and use what people, because everybody's got the same, really. We are not different. We all think that we have this uniqueness, which we have. Yet, we all are looking for what's special about us. So show what your values really, really are by using by using those words in your presentations, in your blogs, because that's what people are going to connect to.
And I think that's one thing that I need to use more, are those exact words. I've used them to apply it to the look of things and how I've structured things, but actually using the words and articulating them is something else.
Yeah, and you can use it, as I said, a dry situation like a tax, right through to a very spiritual conversation in a blog or a podcast or a Facebook post. Even if you are teaching some modality in personal development.
Cool. So that's you.
God, I haven't seen this for ages.
That picture.
Yeah, I haven't seen that picture for a long time.
So one of the things that Di has developed from what she knows from all of these years of studying Buckminster Fuller and understanding nature's principles, which actually are really quite interesting. I remember when, I think it had been a few months when we started conversing again, and there was a point where I was thinking, I kind of want to know almost everything that's in your brain. And it wasn't until I asked you if you could teach me everything that you know, where you started giving me more information, and I pretty much opened up a Pandora's box in the best sense. I mean, it all really started with the exercise that you provided, which is about your values and your needs, and it's your Know Your Why product. And Know Your Why, it's more than a process for clear communication, for intimacy, your brand, your mission, your vision. It will define your message to your market. The Know Your Why process will develop clear words that you can use to ask for what you want and need. And by the end of this process, you'll have clear words for your questions and statements to use with yourself and your friends, family, work, colleagues. Using this simple yet powerful proven tool, you'll have clear intention that will develop your purpose.
And I think I could reword that. I don't know where you got this from at this point, because it's probably on that funnel. But, people, I want to make the distinction for here is that people have 4 passions. Again, model, tetrahedron, basis. Your passions have a foundation of what your purpose is. But we work from the outside in. We can't work from the inside out and find out what our purpose is until we start working from the outside and start to get feedback of what we actually have done in our life, what value we give to people, how we actually go about what we do. We can't see ourselves from the outside. So how can we work from the outside in? Which is why it seems a very successful process of being able to identify some words that you can flesh out your values, identify some words for your needs and flesh out what you need, and then start to see what's in your way. What do you tolerate? It's really a very simple process. And the further you do that, the further you move into yourself and get to know yourself, which then the further you do that, the more people can see how authentic you are and they can see who you are.
Can you give an example?
I think the thing that I always hear, and I can only give my own examples, I think the thing that I always hear when I'm on a stage and I come off the stage and people go, wow, you looked at me, you smiled at me. I really felt what you said. And I go, well, I really appreciate that because I really wanted to be in my body. I have taken care of what I've eaten, what I've drunk, how many hours I've slept, who I surround myself with. I'm no different to anybody else. I've had struggles. I've had depression. I've had illness. I have family around me who are negative. I have friends around me that don't call me because they think that I'm better than them now because I've been on a global stage, or they feel whatever they feel. I surround myself with people who I know are going to support me. And so I have these things in my life that when I go and write a blog or write a video, speak a video, or I'm on a stage, I can be truly who I am. I can actually breathe and be thinking about really what am I doing on a big purpose picture. Does that make sense? Who has maybe some questions around that? Because I think that is the crux. How can you be who you are without any fear, without any intrepidation that somebody's going to pull the rug from underneath you? Everybody's being told, no, you can't do that. I know I've said that to my own kids. No, be careful. No, you can't do that. No, this is too much for you. No, this won't be safe. Even, I want to give you an example of my oldest kid, maybe about 3 months ago, bought a house. And it was a very expensive house. And we both, Rob and I, my partner, says, yes, I think we'll help you with the house. We'll help you with the deposit. And then what slipped out of my mouth was actually what my grandmother said. Because remember, I didn't have a lot to do with my mum when I was growing up because she was in so much shame and like she went away. So I heard my grandmother come out of my mouth and say, no, this house is too expensive. And I think that you should wait a while. I could not believe my mouth. I could not believe what came out of my mouth. So we've all had people say that to us. So how can you have somebody or people around you that you can express that to, let it go, take a deep breath, and have that support so that you know who you are? And I was able to apologize to her and say, look, I think that was my nana that came out of my mouth. I really want you to go for this. It's a house that I know that you are going to absolutely love. And yes, it's expensive. And yes, it's a stretch for you. And yes, we can help you. And yet all of this stuff. And I apologize because I want to be one of those people around my kids that will tell them the truth from who I am. And I'm sure as parents, I think everybody's parents are, we're all parents here. How can we do that for our kids? It's one of the most treasured skills to have is how can we be clear on who we are, what our values are, express what we need, they're our needs, and get out of the things that we tolerate, what's in our brains from our parents or our grandparents, and really say what we want, what we need to our friends and our kids and our family.
And so oh, go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, do any of you have any questions that you wanted to ask or comment? Or maybe help hash out something that is going on in your mind right now with what you're doing?
Because really what we've talked about such a big foundational but simple tools, and then we've added some concrete, what do we do in this digital world? And we've tried to do that in a very short period of time.
I've got something, but I've been hogging the question time. So if someone else wants to speak up first, I'm happy with that. No. So I've just got a question. You just mentioned we've got 4 main passions, and that's our foundation for our purpose. But then you're talking about identifying your values, your needs, and then your tolerations and your change comes from that. So where does your 4 passions sit? Do they come from your values and your needs?
When you start to live your values and you start to get more distinctions of exactly what they mean, then you start to ask for what you need without blowing people out of the water. And at the same time, what happens is you start to shift things that you've been tolerating that you probably are not even aware of what you're tolerating. You start to see what you're passionate about. It's a creative process.
Right. So
that's from my experience.
Yeah. So and your 4 passions, are you saying 4 just because again of that tetragon shape, or?
Yeah. I'm saying 4 because I had to choose a model.
Yes.
The other thing though, I'm a business person. I use a calculator and spreadsheets every single day. Our business, I run an events business. We have to make a profit on every single job. So how many hours did this guy spend here? What materials were used on this part of the job? So that when the job's finished, done and dusted, that spreadsheet tells me how profitable it is. It might tell me a very different story in the bank balance, but really how much profit was made on that job. So I calculate everything. And so I just don't go by, okay, I need a model and I need 4 things.
Right. Yeah.
I also go by, what did people tell me? The majority of people, when I asked about 200 women when I wrote my Know Your Why free ebook on my website, I went around when I was traveling. I would, before I wrote that book, I asked women, mainly women, what is it that they want? What's important to them? And most of them came up with between 3 to 6 things that they couldn't decide that they were so passionate about. The majority of women actually had no clue because they had squashed it, because they've been so busy with logistics. But the women that were older and the women that had actually taken some time to figure out what they were passionate about, there was about 4. It was very interesting.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
When you were talking before, Di, about, when you came out and you said it was your grandmother talking, I was never really close to my mum, but we both loved each other, and we really didn't never have a conversation. We just didn't agree with each other. There was no argument, and I always remember saying, I never want to be like my mum. Never. I couldn't stand it. And what I'm finding now is the older I've got, the more I'm like my mum. I'm realizing it without anyone telling me. I realize it, but I actually like it. And I've realized that, what she did in the way, not everything, there was a few things, but the majority of it, I'm now actually quite happy and go, you know what, Mum was right. I'm quite happy to be content in my own skin. And yeah, so I often laugh about that because I was so adamant that I was never, ever going to be like her.
And she was probably quite an adamant person.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We should laugh with you, Victor.
I'm sure we can all relate to that, Victor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would recommend that you would have, especially now in this day and age, you're going to have different values. So what are your values? And then how can you still bring your mum into your personality and then have a choice? We do have choices as to what comes out of our mouth because of what we are thinking.
Yeah, we always have a choice. Yeah. And definitely having that foundation is just, it's made a huge difference in my life. And I've just been able to be more solid in every area of my life, especially in my content. And we might go a little bit over time just to let you guys know, because I wanted to still introduce Erica. But with Di's practice, it's really kind of changed every area of my life and made me feel really solid. And so if you go to courageouslyfree.com/values, you'll be able to see her exercise. However, today is going to be a special price because what she has on her page there is $197 US dollars, I think. But I had asked her if we could have a special offer for you guys here today, just because I know how powerful it is to get that going. Now the difference between what you're going to get today, and she's going to be offering it for $70 US dollars. And the reason why I'm doing it in US dollars is because I have a global family and a lot of you are from different countries. And so it's $70 US dollars. The main difference of what you're going to get today versus the product that she has on courageouslyfree.com/values is that you're going to be able to get a half an hour free with her, one-on-one time with her, meaning whatever you have going on in your mind about what you want to do, and you can ask her direct questions and she can help you hash out your values and your needs and your tolerations. So just go to that link just to see exactly what you're going to get. And when you, if you buy it today, then let me know, because I think we'll just give you a PayPal link to put the money into, rather than just going to that particular page. Do you have a PayPal link, Di?
I do, and I think it's my event business, but we can sort that out later.
Yeah, just message me personally, and then we'll sort that out for you, because when I'm feeling off myself, I do ask myself a few questions to get me back on track, but a lot of it comes down to how am I, or what can I do next to satisfy my needs in the nicest of ways, and then also, is what I'm doing satisfy my values.
Now, we need to make some distinctions in here, because the people that are already in my mentoring program do not buy this. You already have it. If you haven't been fleshing out what you value, what you need, and what you tolerate, then you go to module 2. It's already there. You were given it. It was free for you because you paid for the mentoring program. If you've already bought this program at a different price, at a different time or whatever, I still will, if you email Gina, I will still give you 30 minutes. If you're struggling with it, if something happens, I will still spend, and I always spend more time. Like, I'm not going to be looking at my clock. So again, be clear about what you've bought, what you haven't bought. And I think that's one of the things about this day and age and all that's going on, is that there's so many distractions. People are saying, buy this, this will give you so many leads, will give you so many dollars and so much time. It's like, people that are in the mentoring program, do not buy this. If you have bought it before, email Regina, message Regina, and just say, yes, I'd like 30 minutes with Di. If you haven't bought it, go buy it, and you're going to get all that. I hope that's clear.
I think the deceiving thing is the 30 minutes with you actually ends up being a lifetime.
Oh yes, it does. Because I don't need to do this.
Yeah.
But I have no choice to do this. I know what I know. I have skills to be able to put it out because I've put the time in. I'm sharing those skills so that other people can do that. And so I can't help myself. I call people up and say, hey, I haven't heard from you for a couple of weeks. What, are you stuck? Oh, yes, I'm stuck. Or no, I'm just busy. I'll call you back. Whatever.
If you've already worked out your values, is this something that is worthwhile, or is part of the program actually to flesh out your values?
No, the program is your values, your needs, and your tolerations, and then how to actually work with them to develop your passions and your purpose.
Okay.
So it's not just about values.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually seriously thinking of changing the whole front door, the whole thing, because there's so much bantering nowadays around what do you know, get to know what your why is.
Can I ask, I've got my partner who has struggled to find his passion in life. He's not into digital and the space or anything like that, but he's really struggled to find his passion. Is this something that might help him find that?
In my belief, yes. He has to put the work in. I'm not going to lie. This is not an easy process. It takes time. I have a son-in-law, and I tell him to go and buy specific manure to put on his garden. And he's always texting me and saying, Di, we've got caterpillars again. They're eating my mint. Or I just put in this beautiful lawn that cost me $300 and now it's all been eaten. And I go, please put the manure on. Please take the time. Please use organic. You always have to feed what you want back. And it's not going to be immediate. So he puts the manure on and he stands there watching it. It's the same.
Yeah.
I think you said something really important there. And you said you always have to feed what you want to get back.
Yes. You do have to feed it every day. It's a lifestyle.
And he's a boy.
It's a very sensitive boy.
Yeah, I don't see boys and girls any different in this case. We're all impatient. We all have distractions. We are all got so many things going on. We all want to find our passions nowadays. We really do. We want to be able to live and live a meaningful life, men and women.
So is it worthwhile doing any thinking before, if we were to buy the course, do any thinking beforehand, or do you just come in, pen and paper in hand, and off you go?
How it works is there's a PDF to download. It's very simple. And I think, how many videos is there, Regina? Maybe 6 videos you go through, and I just go, it's 4 years old. It's very old. I need to redo it. It's very old in this digital space. And I tell you where it came from, what it means, some of the exercises that you need to do, and then I show you what to do in the PDF. It's that simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have any comments on that, Regina? Because you've done it many times.
And I do it over and over and over again.
So do I.
Because I know, your values end up staying the same, but my needs, I revisit every 6 months, sometimes depending on what's going on in my life, it's every 3 months.
Well, of course our needs are going to change. We're emotional electrons. We work at a frequency. So the higher frequency, the more we are becoming clearer and the more we have space in our bodies. We're just frequencies. So our needs change.
Now that you've done this work, Di, do you find that you run through this process almost subconsciously in your day-to-day existence?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'll give you an example of that. Yesterday I was driving, had to spend a lot of time in the car. I was picking up, dropping off, for our events business. And it meant that I was in the car with my dogs. I always take my dogs with me because I could love to talk to them. They talk back. They make a lot of sense, my dogs. And so I'm talking to them and I realized that I actually felt a feeling inside of my body that I felt when I was 6 and 7 and 8, that somebody and something was quite dark looking into me. And it felt a dark hold inside of me. And I thought, that's why I feel like I've been a little bit stuck. And I hadn't realized it because it's the toleration that I've been putting up with since I was a child. Christina, you're going to relate to this. It's the era where we are clearing out years and years and years, eons of stuff, of beliefs. And so I thought, okay, I've got clear on that. What am I going to do about it? Because one of my values is freedom. One of my key needs that hasn't changed for many, many years is clarity. I just so adore being clear. I get frustrated when I'm not clear. I love being clear in my head, in my body. And then I went to have a cup of tea with a girlfriend that I've known for a long, long time. I've worked with her. She's worked with me. We mentor each other. And she said to me, there's this new guy in Perth and he's using this frequency technology that is very new. There's no one else in Australia that is using it. He has bought it from somewhere or other. She gave me this great big story. She said, maybe you want to go see him. So I've made an appointment. So it's like, how can you continually ask yourself questions when you feel that there's something going on in your body? Because if you are aware, you know that there's something going on in your body. So ask yourself questions. Talk to your dogs. They'll give you the answer.
Talk to your body.
And I know Rebecca does that quite a bit as well.
Yes.
I do.
That's what, yeah, cool. Well, I thank you so much, Di, for taking your time to spend with us. I really appreciate it, and for changing lives. Yeah, it's been a pretty incredible ride just getting to know you as, for who you are, and yeah, and the fact that you're out in the open and sharing all of this is so huge, especially with all of the noise on the internet and people selling stuff and all of this stuff. And this is what people really need. I mean, in my own opinion, that people really need to know and understand. But I don't know. But I was surprised to find out how little people, how little the little amount of people actually know this and apply this to what they know.
But I think, Regina, the reason that people don't or can't talk about what is invisible is because we're so trained to actually see and want what we see.
Mm.
We're not trained to feel and identify feelings and to be in an invisible world. And I'm not an invisible person. I'm like, as I said, I work with spreadsheets, data, men going here, going there, logistics, dollars, pieces of material, pieces of steel, and we've got to produce physical things to give to a client, and they want a return on their dollar, and so do we. So you can't get much more logistical and seeable than that. But on the other side, I have had the ability to be able to see and feel on a very high frequency. So how can we do that so people can hear us? That's what I want for everybody. That's what everybody wants.
Cool.
Thank you, Regina, for having me. And thanks for your questions, everybody. It's been fabulous.
Thanks, Di. It's been really good.
Yeah, and thanks. I know that we're way over time, and I appreciate you being here, and I know that you have other things to do as well. And just before we go, I wanted to quickly bring out Erica, who's in the States. Is she still here?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
I've been kicked off, so if I get kicked off again, I'm really sorry.
Oh, that's all right. And I know we're over time, and I appreciate you too, Erica, for coming here. And Erica and I have been, I guess I'm going to say, online friends for quite a few years as well. And she's been on this journey of trying to live an online life. And she's an amazing artist. If you look up the Sleepy Pine on Instagram and Pinterest, and I think Facebook, or just Google it, you'll see the amazing work that she does. And she and I are coming together to, watch this space. We don't quite know what it's going to look like yet, but I just wanted to introduce her because she's done some amazing stuff on Pinterest as well, which will be really cool because starting early next year, I'm going to be talking about tools for the marketing, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to hop on and maybe teach us some stuff. But just can you introduce yourself really quick and tell us who you are, and then before we head out?
What's the name of her Instagram account again? Sorry, the Sleepy
Pine.
P-I-N-E?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I think she got kicked off.
Oh.
We'll get her next time then.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
But I'm not going to turn on my video because that's making this worse.
Introduce yourself before we head out.
Okay, awesome. So I'm Erica. I'm a Pinterest growth expert as well as a watercolor illustrator. And I've been working online for several years, and it's been a pretty amazing journey, but a little bit of a lonely one. And so I've been it's kind of cool to see as connections grow and stuff. I'm really excited for the things that are coming in 2019.
Yeah, because the first time that I met Erica was when I was teaching a blogging
I hope
course.
I'm still here.
Oh, you're still there. I was teaching a blogging. I had a blogging webinar. I think 3 years ago, and she hopped on, and ever since then we've kept in touch. And she's really developed her own area, and I'm looking forward to having her come around more. So if you guys are in our VIP Zoom group for business owners, you're going to be seeing her more and more because she's going to be taking quite a big role with me on that, and to help you guys really get your content online and be digitally sustainable. So I know that was short and sweet, but I know that you guys have been here for a while, so just wanted to thank you again for your time. And thank you, Erica. Let's see, Victor said something. Victor has to go. Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas to all of you guys, and see you next year. Bye.
Thank you. See ya.
And Rebecca, you can stay on if you want.
Okay.
Or yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for
See you
being
later.
here.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. That